because we are indolent, we're at peace, Lancelot and Guinevere kind of just hang out in the courtyard, and they're obviously like making eyes for each other. So much that Mordred and Morgan Le Fay look at each other like, oh, well, now we found the chink in Arthur's armor and we can exploit this. And then the rest of the film is them finding ways to exploit this. And Lancelot constantly trying to figure out ways to, get out from under that through Merlin's help.
Yeah, mostly Merlin is the one kind of fighting that and figuring a way out of it.
Right, exactly. Merlin is the one who he sees everybody spying on each other and says, okay, in order to keep the peace, Lancelot and Elaine get married. B, Lancelot goes off to Scotland, essentially, in order to make sure that you can't accuse Lancelot and Guinevere of cheating. This is basic, this is Arthurian legend. This does follow the story, and that all works really well. And the whole idea that Lancelot ends up with this woman Elaine, that also is in Mallory. It's in the original, the French version that Mallory is based on, and the way they do it here is different than how it is in, I guess, Mallory and in the original, where at first Lancelot actually, he's under a spell and he thinks that Elaine is actually Guinevere. So when they sleep together and create Galahad, he doesn't know that this is not actually Guinevere and stuff like that. That's the thing. So this movie, because it's 1953, they take all the sex out. Lancelot and Guinevere in this movie, they never actually sleep together. I find that fascinating because you can't do the Arthurian triangle without actually sleeping together. In the Middle Ages, it's all over the place. In the Middle Ages, you could write about this. Like, I'm not saying they got like explicitly pornographic, at least not in that particular text, although not so much, the Lancelot Guinevere story, but if there were pornographic texts in the Middle Ages. I mean, I've got like a whole fat book of what they call fabliaux, which is like French poems from, the 13th century, 12th century, and it's full of smut. It was already there in the Middle Ages. You could talk about it then. But now it's 1953. You can't talk about it at all. And there's something very funny to me about that. You could talk about all you wanted in the Middle Ages. I mean, my God, just sit down and read like Chaucer and what he, all the jokes he puts into Canterbury Tales and like the Miller's Tale and stuff like that. Which, if you tried to talk about that like in a classroom today, you would get hauled in front of like libs of TikTok or something. It amazes me just how backwards we are compared to the Middle Ages. Well, the 1950s are the same. It's the same problem. So anyway, they can't actually show Lancelot and Guinevere going any further than making eyes at each other and one kiss towards the end. So
at least they get that though. It was really looking like that's not going to happen.
Right, because you're ending up with like, it's not dissimilar to First Night.
Yeah,
really. Can we talk about this for a second? I know I've already started talking about this, but it's weird that even as late as the 1990s, you couldn't have an actual, Arthur, Guinevere, Lancelot, love triangle, sex involved, the whole 9 yards.
Well,
they kept dumbing it down.
Obviously, they do in Excalibur.
Excalibur, they actually bothered to go for it, but Excalibur is not an American film.
Oh, it's not?
Well, I don't
know.
You know what? I'm not sure what studio put it out, but John Borman's English. The whole cast is English. Like, if there's any American money behind it, first of all, cool. Second of all, I'd be surprised. But whenever America has like gotten its hands on this, like, I don't know, we haven't seen Camelot yet, right?
Right.
But it just strikes me that, a couple of times now we've gone back to this story, and they can't actually have a truly adulterous relationship, even though that is at the core of the story for hundreds of years. There's something so... It's not even that America is prudish, although America is prudish, but there's something like, we can't have these people be bad because then you're not going to like them. You want to still be on their side. You want to still feel bad for them. So we can't actually have them commit adultery. I get really frustrated with that, because I feel like it's treating us like we're morons. I'm serious. Okay.
It's kind of also like they're superheroes or something.
Yeah.
And superheroes had the same thing where like, well, we can't have them show them having sex or anything.
Right. That first Iron Man movie before Marvel was bought by Disney, he is actually sleeping around.
Yeah.
But as soon as it was bought by Disney, that goes out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think comparing it to superhero movies is absolutely right. You can't actually have anybody actually having sex, and I'm not saying you have to have explicit sex scenes, although sure, bring it on. Again, they do in Excalibur more than once.
Yeah.
Sometimes to the point where it's just like, why are we doing this? Like that opening with like Uther and Igraine, where he's got the whole suit of armor on. I mean, it's so bizarre. But you know what? Honestly, compared to everything else that's been done, you go, John Boorman. Yeah, this is really wrong and uncomfortable, but at least it's something.